I want you to think real hard. Can you think of any, and I mean any, lasting, viable research on the scientific differences between the races that has held up to the test of time? Not really. That's because for the past few decades, biologists have moved towards clines. A cline is a biological term which refers to a measurable gradient in a single character or biological trait of a species across its geographic range. First conceptualized in 1938, by Julian Huxley. The character of the cline is referred to as usually genetic or phenotypic. This is the metric by which biologists measure stuff that used to be considered race before. I'm trying to think of a good way to visually demonstrate this. The best way that I can think of is imagine a gradient. Imagine a gradient just like this. Let's get a little more broad. There we go. No. Even broader. Yes. No, even more green slanted because red is more dominant in the... There we go. Nope, that's too far. Imagine this. Will you, I ask, find me a line at the exact point where one color becomes red or green from the center? You can't, of course. It's not possible. You know, is this green or red? Is this green or red? It's color. Now imagine if I add another layer. Humans aren't just one gene expression, are they? That's ridiculous. Humans are actually thousands of gene expressions that vary over a population. So if I reduce the opacity of this to 50%, Vaush, doesn't this example kind of work against you? We do use words for colors quite a bit. But Reactor 1001, think for a second. The terms we use for color, are those socially ascribed or biological or physiological realities? Are they categorizations projected from our biased perceptions, or are they empirical things? All cultures have different lines for what they describe to be blue, green, etc. What an interesting and beautiful set of colors that has produced. Now if I create another one, and I reduce the opacity even further, and I go over here, there we go. So I ask you, can you find where one race becomes the other? This might seem like a silly question, but again, human genetic variance trends across thousands of different genes. I've only added 3 layers to this. You really think you can categorize race in a biological sense and have it mean anything? The truth is, if you want to form arbitrary categories, you can. It's not impossible to do so. The question is, are those arbitrary categories scientifically useful? Time and time again, science has shown that race is not, because it was an intuitive, pattern-recognized system that we developed through nothing more than very basic phenotypical differences between ourselves and, Africans. I'm going to point this out in one other way that might seem a little bit strange, but I want you to think. I want you to open up your mind chakra for a second, okay? Can you do that for me, please? Can you, just out of curiosity, describe to me the race of this woman? But I've all primed you for an answer, haven't I? How do you think most people would answer? Take away the sociological education. Given the fact that people are arguing over black elves, I think most people would be comfortable referring to her as a white elf, which is kind of strange because in the Lord of the Rings, here we go. Same with dwarves, right? The lady in the center, this is from Lord of the Rings, is a dwarf, and she's black, or at least the actress playing her is black. But of course, dwarves and elves are literally not human. But does it not seem strange to you that in our world, in the real world, people who are white supremacists are more likely to identify with a white elf than with a black human? Even though canonically, in the lore of that universe, elves don't have a race. They're derivatives of nature. What is it about racial categorization that allows us to do that? And can it really be a biological descriptor when people are capable of seeing race in creatures that literally don't have it in the human sense? You can see this all over the place, by the way. For a long time, white supremacists have reaffirmed the perceived superiority of white people by clinging onto cultural signifiers of non-humans who have pale skin. If race was truly a scientific, biological category, how would it make any sense at all for the transcendent cultural weight of light skin to apply to creatures that are literally not the same species as us in fantasy or in science fiction? Do you understand what I'm getting at? Nobody uses race as a biological demarker. Scientists don't, and racists don't either. It's a fundamental taxonomy that transcends biology. It's more akin to spiritual for them. If you want a historical example of this, you can take a look at the Nazis. Did the Nazis like IQ tests? I'm asking you a question. No, they didn't, because a particular ethnic group kept outperforming the Aryan Germans. Eventually, IQ tests were dismissed as a Jewish falsity because they were outperforming the Germans, the Nazis. Oh, I thought they liked it against POC. They did. They liked the IQ tests when they did better than the people who they thought they were better than, and they disliked IQ tests when the IQ test showed that they weren't as good as other people they didn't like. Is this really a scientific assessment of the races? Why did so many eugenicists have to lie about the data they collected while doing research in Africa? Why have so many findings of theirs been discredited historically, not just because they were racist and inaccurate, but because of outright fraud on the people who constructed these studies? If this was purely scientific, why is nobody treating it like a science and everyone treating it like a social category? Right? Nobody treats this like a science. Scientific racists are not educated on modern biological clinal studies. The case for race being a biological reality has been determined. It is. It is a biological reality that different humans have different basic phenotypical expressions. That different groups of humans, on average, have different skin tones and a couple of different bits, their hair, their facial shape, whatever. That has been cemented. The usefulness of race as a scientific descriptor outside of that has not been determined, and every bit of evidence we have determines the opposite. It has consistently been found in every possible faculty, social and scientific, that not only is race not scientifically valid, but no one even really thinks it is. They just pretend it is, because the cloak of scientific legitimacy has been the mechanism through which European white supremacists have legitimized their domination over black people. It has always been a convenient excuse, a half-hearted justification. But do you think then that the white colonial powers would have freed their slaves if suddenly they could have been presented with biological evidence that the black slaves had a higher capacity for intelligence than the white Europeans? If somebody could provide them irrefutable evidence of that fact, would they have suddenly changed their mind? Of course not. They would have said the studies were false, as modern racists do when more and more research indicates that the racial IQ gap is not a product of hereditary genetics. Much of it is, of course, a product of passed down or hereditary differences, but one must remember that family wealth is also hereditary. Many things are hereditary without them necessarily being genetic in nature. Complicated terms, often misused by people with an agenda. I understand this comes across a little bit preachy, but there's a reason why I'm rambling on like this. And the reason for that is because I want to make it exceedingly clear that the history of race as a scientific concept has been a history of failure, of dead ends, scientifically, sociologically. Every major bit of research, every study, every line we've tried to take things like phrenology, skull shape science measurement, trying to use people's facial shapes to determine their likelihood of criminal behavior. Wrong, 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 wrong. Whereas modern biological clinal studies are consistent and accurate and scientifically useful. And it really is that simple.